Some things cannot be taken back once you tell your family. You have a terrible argument with your partner and call someone close to you. You tell them everything, the cruel sentence, the slammed door, the reason you are furious. A few days later, you and your partner talk, apologize, and move forward. But at the next family dinner, your sister barely looks at them. Your mother asks whether you are truly all right. Someone makes a joke that is not quite a joke. The argument ended between you and your partner. For your family, it never ended. You forgave, they did not. Or perhaps you tell one relative that after years of saving, you finally have part of a down payment for a home. A week later, someone who rarely calls suddenly needs $4,000 just until next month. To you, that money is a future home. To them, it is money you have but refuse to share. That is what private information can do once it leaves your hands. It changes how people see your partner, your money, your plans, and sometimes you. This is not about treating your family like the enemy. It is about 7 kinds of information that seem harmless until the consequences become difficult to reverse. Some can damage a relationship. Some can turn generosity into obligation. And one does not belong to you in the first place. Share it, and someone may never trust you in the same way again. Let us begin with the information most people share far too early. 1. A plan you have not started yet. You are considering changing careers. For the first time in years, you feel excited. You have found a course, researched the industry, and imagined what life might look like if you stopped waking up every morning already tired of the day ahead. Then you mention the idea at dinner. Within 5 minutes, the questions begin. Is there any money in that? Are you really going to start over now? What happened the last time you tried something new? And, of course, someone knows a person who tried exactly the same thing and apparently ended up living in a car. You arrived with an idea, you leave with a defense case. The family may genuinely believe it is protecting you, but people usually give advice from inside their own fears. A cautious person will call your plan reckless. Someone who regrets never taking a risk may become strangely invested in keeping you where you are. The real damage is not that they disagree. It is that you begin spending energy explaining a plan that should still be receiving that energy. There's another trap. Announcing a goal can feel like progress. People congratulate you, ask questions, and briefly treat you like the person you intend to become. Your brain receives part of the reward before you have completed any of the work. So protect a new plan until it has evidence behind it. Complete the first week of the course. Make the first appointment. Save the first amount of money. Send the first application. Give the idea enough structure to survive somebody else's opinion. If you need guidance, ask one person with relevant experience, not 6 relatives with free time. And if somebody later asks why you did not tell them sooner, you can say, I wanted to make sure it was real before I talked about it. That is not secrecy, that is discipline. Because once a plan becomes real, it no longer needs everyone's permission to exist. 2. Exactly how much money you have. Money is rarely just money inside a family. It becomes proof of who is successful, who is struggling, who should help, and who supposedly has no right to say no. Imagine that you receive a good bonus at work. You tell a relative the exact amount because you are proud of it. At first, they congratulate you. Then something subtle changes. The next time the family goes to dinner, there is a pause when the check arrives. When someone needs help, your name appears early in the conversation. When you buy something for yourself, people seem to perform a small private calculation. After all, you receive that bonus. If your family believes you have more money than they do, your boundaries may start looking selfish. If they believe you have less, every purchase may become evidence that you cannot manage your life. Either way, a private financial decision becomes family commentary. Of course, financial honesty is essential with a spouse or anyone directly affected by your decisions. Shared debt, shared bills, taxes, estate arrangements, and legal obligations are not private games. But your cousin does not need a quarterly earnings report. When somebody asks for money, you do not have to prove that you cannot afford it. You are allowed to protect money that already has a purpose. Try this. That money is already committed to something important, so I cannot lend it. Do not reveal the balance. Do not submit your budget for inspection. And do not create 5 excuses, because every excuse creates a new question. If you do lend money, decide whether you can emotionally and financially survive never getting it back. A family loan has a remarkable ability to disappear from the borrower's memory while remaining perfectly clear in the lender's. Privacy allows generosity to remain a choice. Without that privacy, generosity can quietly become a subscription nobody remembers you agreeing to. 3. Every detail of an argument with your partner. We began with this situation because almost everyone has seen some version of it. You and your partner have one terrible evening. You tell the family while the anger is fresh. Naturally, you tell the story from the position you are standing in at that moment. You describe the accusation, not the apology that comes later. You describe the slammed door, not the calm conversation the following morning. Your family receives the worst scene without seeing the rest of the film. Then you reconcile. But your mother remembers the way you sounded on the phone. Your brother remembers the sentence your partner said. Your adult child begins watching the relationship as though another disaster is about to happen. The family believes it is protecting you. Your partner feels surrounded by people who know private details but pretend they do not. Now, every family gathering contains something unspoken. Before describing an ordinary relationship conflict to relatives, ask yourself one uncomfortable question. Am I looking for clarity, or am I recruiting a jury? If you need perspective, speak to someone capable of being fair after your anger has passed. A counselor, a mature friend, or one relative who does not immediately turn every disagreement into a campaign. And when you have already shared too much, repair the damage directly. We resolved that argument. I told you about it while I was angry, and I do not want one bad night to define how you treat my partner. There is an important exception. Abuse, threats, coercion, violence, financial control, and fear for your safety should not be hidden to protect the family image. In dangerous situations, tell somebody trustworthy and seek appropriate help. But ordinary conflict needs room to end. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for a relationship is to stop giving every temporary problem a permanent audience. 4. A vulnerability shared with an unsafe relative. Being related to someone does not automatically make them emotionally safe. You may tell a family member that you are afraid of ending up alone. They listen, comfort you, and appear to understand. Months later, during an argument, they say, "This is exactly why nobody stays with you." The sentence lasts 3 seconds, but you remember it for years. Or you admit that you are uncertain about a decision. The next time you disagree, that uncertainty returns as evidence that you cannot be trusted to run your own life. Some people do not receive vulnerability as a responsibility. They receive it as material. That does not always make them evil. They may be impulsive, insecure, competitive, or simply incapable of handling private information with care. But the reason matters less than the pattern. Watch what a person does with other people's secrets. Notice whether they can disagree without humiliating you. Ask yourself how you usually feel after speaking with them. Understood or exposed? Do not hand someone your deepest fear as a test of whether they can be trusted. Let trust be demonstrated before vulnerability is offered. If a relative has repeatedly used personal information against you, you do not need a dramatic announcement. You can quietly reduce their access. If they ask why you no longer tell them everything, say, "I am still working through it and I am not ready to discuss it." That sentence does not accuse them. It also does not give them anything new to use. You can love someone and still give them a smaller key to your life. Forgiveness does not require restoring the same access that allowed the injury. 5. A secret that belongs to someone else. This is the boundary people break while believing they are being helpful. Your adult daughter tells you that her marriage is in trouble. She is frightened and does not know what she is going to do. She asks you not to tell anyone. You keep the secret for 2 days. Then you call your sister because you need advice. You make her promise not to tell anyone. She tells her husband because, naturally, spouses do not count. He mentions it to one other person who already suspected something. By the end of the week, the family has formed a private committee about a marriage whose owners do not know the committee exists. When your daughter discovers this, the original problem is still there. But now she also knows that bringing a problem to you means bringing it to the family. Information does not become family property simply because it affects you emotionally. A diagnosis, pregnancy, separation, financial problem, private mistake, or major decision belongs to the person living through it. Unless someone is in immediate danger, they should control when and how the story is told. If carrying the information becomes difficult, ask permission. Would you be comfortable with me discussing this confidentially with one specific person? If the answer is no, respect it. And when another relative pushes for details, use 7 simple words. That is not my story to tell. Trust is not usually destroyed by one theatrical betrayal. It disappears through smaller moments when someone realizes that anything they tell you will eventually travel. Be the person in your family with whom information stops. People will notice. Quiet discretion creates a kind of authority that loud advice never can. 6. Every mistake from your past. Some families have long memories and very old job descriptions. One person remains the irresponsible one because of something they did at 23. Someone else remains the difficult one because they once refused to follow the family plan. A failed marriage, an old debt, or a period when you needed help becomes your permanent name tag. Sometimes we help keep that role alive by repeatedly confessing the same past. You may believe that if you finally explain every detail, the family will understand who you really are. But another explanation often becomes another opportunity for the same people to hold the same trial. Before revealing something painful, ask what the disclosure is meant to accomplish. Did your decision harm someone who deserves the truth? Do you owe a sincere apology? Would telling the truth correct a damaging lie or protect somebody from danger? Then speak honestly and take responsibility. But if the situation has been addressed, nobody is at risk, and the confession only allows you to punish yourself again, the entire family may not need the full report. You can say, I made decisions then that I would not make today. I took responsibility and I learned from them. You are allowed to share the lesson without reopening every piece of evidence. Growth does not mean denying your past. It means refusing to rent it a permanent room in your present. Your life is not a courtroom, and your relatives are not required to approve your rehabilitation. Some chapters need an apology, some need repair, and some, after the work has been done, need to remain closed. 7. A decision that is no longer open for debate. Many people believe they are informing their family when they are actually asking for permission. They say, I am thinking about moving. The questions begin. Why that city? Why now? What about the family? What if it goes wrong? Trying to be respectful, they answer everything. They explain the cost, the weather, the neighborhood, the job, the distance, and the complete history of human relocation. But every new explanation sends the same message. This decision is still available for negotiation. The same pattern appears with retirement, relationships, holidays, work, caregiving, and how much time you are willing to give other people. If a decision directly affects a spouse, dependent, business partner, or person relying on your care, a real discussion is necessary. Privacy should never become an excuse to ignore your responsibilities. But when the consequences primarily belong to you, your family may deserve respectful notice without receiving veto power. Instead of saying, would it be terrible if I did this? Try, I have decided to do this. If someone continues pushing, say, I understand that you would choose differently. I have considered the risks and my decision is made. Do not raise your voice. Do not construct a better argument every time. Calm repetition is often more powerful than a perfect defense. Your family may worry, they may be disappointed, they may need time to adjust. Their feelings are real, but their feelings do not automatically become your instructions. Adulthood includes the right to make a thoughtful choice that loving people would not make for themselves. Explain it once, then let your actions speak. Conclusion: not everything private is a secret. Some things are simply yours. Privacy is not a wall that keeps love out. It is a door with a lock. You decide who enters, when they enter, and how far they are allowed to go. Protect a fragile plan until it has structure. Keep exact financial details among the people who are genuinely affected. Do not give an ordinary argument with your partner a permanent family audience. Offer vulnerability where emotional safety has been earned. Protect information that belongs to somebody else. Take responsibility for the past without living inside it forever. And when a personal decision is final, stop presenting it as an invitation to negotiate. There are times when silence is dangerous. Abuse, exploitation, threats, serious illness, and situations involving someone's safety should not be hidden in the name of privacy. A healthy boundary protects you. A harmful secret isolates you. But in ordinary life, you are allowed to keep part of yourself for yourself. You can love your family without giving them a live report of every thought, fear, plan, argument, and dollar. The next time someone pushes for information you are not ready to share, resist the urge to produce a perfect defense. You may need only one calm sentence. I appreciate your concern, but I am keeping this private. Which of these 7 boundaries has been the hardest for you to protect? You do not need to tell the entire story. Even writing the number in the comments is enough. And if this conversation helped you see a familiar situation more clearly, subscribe for more thoughtful lessons about boundaries, dignity, and living with greater peace.